Is a message to academic Islam, the Islamic traditionalist and fundamentalist, the Sunni and the Shia. First of all, most of you, in my opinion, have abandoned the Quran. The Quran clearly describes a flat earth, and most Muslims have not done their research and came to the conclusion that the earth is flat. Even though they read the Quran and say that they live by it, for whatever reason, they have trouble accepting that the earth is not the heliocentric earth model that we were programmed in school to believe in. You have people like Mufti Menk who literally get paid just to talk about Islam. And they say nothing that upsets the atheist, nothing that goes against the heliocentric agenda, nothing out of the ordinary, and for all intents and purposes, they're no different than the laymen, the average people, the non-believers. The earth is a flat, finite realm. The Quran clearly describes that, very clearly, even saying it's laid out like a carpet, so it's flat. If you look up footage, and it does take some time and it does take some work, but you can find footage of the sun at the North Pole setting in a murky pool of water. There are people who leave Islam because they read the line about Dhu'l-Qarnayn, Alexander the Great, finding the sun setting in a murky pool of water. And the traditionalists will have you believe this is a metaphor. For some people, it doesn't sit right. And because of this, they leave the religion and lose their faith. And you have people like Omar, Suleiman, and Yasir Qadhi, when they could be educating people about Islam and the truth of the Quran, they're actually here advocating for gay rights and LGBTQ rights, like the Yasir Institute promotes. I can't speak for the scholars in Arabia other than Assim Akim, because apparently he's in Arabia. And this man is an idiot. I'm sorry, I'm not going to censor the truth. He is a flat-out idiot. He is a blind follower of hadith, and he doesn't even follow them good. And then you have people like Imran Hosein. The precursor channel looks up to him so much. He thinks Gog and Magog is Russia. Why hasn't he looked up the flat earth when he's all over YouTube? And he's never even seen flat earth, and the Quran preaches flat earth? Gog and Magog is clearly beyond the Antarctic ring. This is just obvious. They're going to invade anytime. This whole coronavirus bullshit is just to prepare us for when we have a real lockdown because Gog and Magog is invading. And what will you do then? They're going to be sitting here like the hypebeast talking about shoes when Gog and Magog shows up at your door. 1,000 of them to every one of us. You know, and Mufti Menk will still be telling his little corny jokes about some Indian dude sleeping and he was relaxing. You know, why do people treat the Quran as a book abandoned and take books of law and records and other than the Quran and make that the religion when it has nothing to do with the Quran? The Quran is just simply, you believe in God, you don't eat pork, you don't eat carrion. It doesn't even outright ban intoxicants. And people will have you believe that, in the words of Mufti Menk, a Muslim should jump out of a plane with a parachute instead of going to a bar. When you can go to a bar and have one drink and not be intoxicated and tell people about Islam. And actually maybe people will listen to you because it's a relaxed setting. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you a video of the sun setting in a murky pool of water. And people have some nerve to call themselves a follower of the Quran when in actuality, they barely take the time to even think about the book.
Greetings. I was asked to put this video together for my good friend Rodney for his website. You will excuse me if I'm appear a bit nervous. This particular subject I have not spoken to anyone on camera before, but I'll do the best I can from what I'm about to relay to you. Some years ago, I used to do a lot of flying stateside from coast to coast, and I used to always fly in the sit in the rear of the aircraft. As a security consultant, I can tell you that it is the safest place, part of the aircraft should it go down. But anyway, I would also try to look for pilots, and pilots that were also taking this flight. They were in uniform, easily recognizable, and were getting a free flight, you know, to and from wherever. And they would also tend to sit in the rear of the aircraft. During one of these travels, I sat adjacent to one of these pilots, and he had a lot of stripes on his shoulder, so I assumed he, you know, was kind of high up there. Anyway, he was a nice gentleman, polite and at first, and I asked him, so have you ever taken any polar flights before? And he said, oh sure, you know, I've flown numerous polar flights over the years. I used to work for SAS Airlines as well as some others, and I've done it many times. And I then asked him, so when you fly these polar flights, do you fly directly over the North Pole? And he then all of a sudden got defensive on me, and he said, well, wait, what are you asking me these questions for? He's looking around to see who else was paying attention. And I said, it's a very interesting subject to me, and I'm just curious. He said, look, you cannot, when pilots fly northern polar flights, they cannot fly directly over the North Pole. There is no North Pole. You fly around the pole. Why do you fly around the pole? Because there's a big frickin' hole up there. You cannot fly over the hole. And he said, but from the way that you're asking me these questions, I assume you already have heard some things about this. And I said, absolutely. And so he told me that he's actually flown around this lip of this opening of this hole, this enormous hole in the north. And he said if you tried to go further in towards this hole of this lip, over around the edge of this lip, then or into, all of your instrumentation would start to go haywire. And he said so you just couldn't do it, because it would be like flying an aircraft through outer space, as he put it. So he said you fly around the poles.
Omar,